So chances are when you've been scouring the internet, you've come across a 3-letter string followed by a number of integers, or you've come across the creation assigned with that tag. Something like the shy guy that looks like XQC, but he's had the driest slot spins imaginable. Right, we're past the 15-second mark now, so I can say this. Or maybe the double D Wendigo, which if you saw in real life would make you either defecate pure concrete bricks, or become bricked up. But if you are that second option, you are a fairy. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. We do have counselling and therapy on this channel, but as long as I'm able to record it, it will not end up in a funny compilation video, I swear. Or maybe you've seen my favourite creation, the My Little Pony fleshlight that when used, drains that user of all life essence. That last one may have been a personal addition for no reason. But you get the point, because this is SCP and it's seemingly taken the internet by storm. I guarantee every one of you has seen some reference of an SCP. It has quite literally been plastered on every corner of the internet, and the name is assimilated with these gruesome, paranormal, and borderline questionable entities. And as said, it is a constantly active community that has seemingly thrived this past decade, with these said monsters and the detailed stories that go along with them. But as I've said countless times, say it with me now, borderline childish adults, where there's a community this large, there is always some problems. And in this case, some infighting within the community. But first, going into this video, I didn't really know entirely what an SCP was. I had a grasp of the concept and some of the lore, but got confused around the involvement of the community when it came to creating such creatures. So what is SCP and the community?
The site is experiencing multiple Keter and Euclid level containment breaches.
Well, the SCP or SCP Foundation, the acronym standing for Secure, Contain, Protect, is a fictional organisation often associated with paranormal entities and activity. But the start to the SCP concept started in 2007, on, God forbid, of all places, a place that would probably be an SCP itself, 4chan. But the green texts are pretty entertaining. But it was started on a horror thread of 4chan as a creepypasta, displayed like a government document talking about this entity, in a report-like fashion, which is a format still used by this community to this day. And the original post was done by somebody called Wesley Williams, also known as Moto42. Wesley is credited as being the first person to create an SCP, and the creator of the whole concept. He probably didn't know that simply posting to 4chan that day would start an internet trend almost spanning 2 decades and becoming a topic that intrigues many and inspires others to create their own. But then again, he is a 4chan user, so degenerate. His original creation was SCP-173, which was very recognisable on the early days of YouTube, as there were a lot of videos and games centred around it. I recognise it from some early videos PewDiePie did. Yes, I'm showing my age. But what is the SCP Foundation? Well, the SCP Foundation is a concept responsible for protecting the wild against these SCPs akin to animals, individuals, objects, and are just general paranormal entities, or anything that breaks the natural law of things. Often the Secure, Contain and Protect Foundation do their activities in entire secrecy, and employees of said organisation are under strict rules to maintain said secrecy. If not, they may be just shot on sight, or turned into test subjects for the SCPs. But the concept is SCPs are often entities that if escaped would destroy the world or wreak havoc, and this organisation is credited with containing and performing tests on said SCPs. The first SCP-173 had the unique ability that anybody looking at it would need to maintain eye contact with it, or it would essentially kill you. I wonder where they got that from. But things like this inspire people to create their own creepy SCP, and provide creative writing in the form of lore around it, in the form of things like abilities and its unique spin. But one thing I was wondering, why are there so many SCP numbers, and seen as though this is community run, why haven't people had duplicate numbers? Well, on the SCP wiki, if you wanted to create an SCP called, I don't know, like Cumfart, you would reserve that SCP number and you're giving a deadline to complete it. If not, your reservation is revoked and you lose your chance to have that number. But it doesn't stop there, because when you upload it, and everyone thinks Comfort is a terrible idea, and the person that created it should have their member put in a guillotine, have their foreskin removed, turned into socks, and they should wear that for the rest of their life, but they also get a splash of sulfuric acid in the face. But worst of all, their SCP could get removed if enough people hate it, through the contribution of downvotes, kind of like Reddit. And if you get enough, your creation gets reviewed, and in some cases it gets removed. And once again, you lose that number. But due to the fact it can be said this is community ran, it has led to some terrible concepts. I'm talking Borderlands live adaptation terrible. First of all, there's SCP-597, called the mother of them all, which is essentially a pile of saggy, lactating tits. A group of areolas so saggy, it looks like somebody's testicles on a very warm morning. Its unique ability is that it just kind of tempts you into suck on the teat, and the milk is completely normal and you can sustain yourself on it, but you just have a weird obsession with sucking on this entity's tits. Yeah. Someone was definitely making that story with one hand. You have SCP-5167, which, get ready for this, is Among Us. If you haven't lost all interest in the concept already, your bar for entertainment and content is very low. It is essentially an SCP that plays Among Us and just exists on the server, and when talked to or prompted, it will go on a long spiel, like, bro, we did not ask, please stop yapping. Like, quite literally, it is just Among Us. You have SCP-7052, which is, get ready for this, you're essentially going to get whiplash from the amount of dull takes you're going to do when I say this. This SCP is the act of shoving spoons up your asshole. Peak fiction. And apparently if you shove enough of said spoons up your orifice, you gain paranormal and godlike powers. I hate I have to say this, but do not go into your kitchen and shove the Joji spoon up your 2.0 USB hole. It will not give you powers, just an embarrassing trip to the hospital. And 2, do not make an SCP based on what you do on a Friday night when you're home alone. You absolute degenerate.
I like rusty spoons.
You have SCP-166, who is a normal woman in her late 20s. Surprisingly, we're doing well here, but needs a small amount of semen to survive. How many of these people have got carpal tunnel or wanker's cramp from writing up these stories with one hand? But with a community with such great creations, well, a majority are, the other are just degeneracy, there wouldn't be any problems of said community, right? Right? Well, on top of the fact some of these SCPs have NSFW themes, and SCP in general has been plastered everywhere, from YouTube to TikTok, resulting in a majority of the fanbase being children, who are little walking encyclopedias on almost every SCP. But on top of that, there is also a lot of infighting in the community. As almost all SCPs are community made, it provides a platform where people will critique others' designs and things like that SCP's abilities. Something that grew since its origins on 4chan. Some people tying it down to its popularity on things like Tumblr. And due to the fact it did get popular on Tumblr, you had an increase of people making these SCPs. And obviously the quality of every SCP isn't going to be the same. Some having stereotypical powers or taking from different forms of media, or just not trying to fall within the horror genre, as it was initially. And you get some goofy SCPs like sticking a spoon up your ass. And you get certain people that think the newer SCPs are terrible and the older ones were way better. And the overall popularity of SCP has ruined it. But I saw one comment which made a lot of sense regarding this topic. It was the fact that the people on 4chan that started this, including the first creator, were experienced writers. So obviously the newer stuff is going to pale in comparison to the older stuff. But then again, this is a community-ran thing and started that way. It started as a creepypasta on the internet. We're not expecting some J.R.R. Tolkien level of writing. And yes, since it has got popular, you have got people that are just making random ideas, especially kids. But it is a community-ran topic. It is not really regulated. So you are going to get some goofy ideas like somebody shoving a spoon up their ass, a pile of wrinkly tits, or heaven forbid, a woman that needs semen to survive. But you've also got the side of the community that treats SCPs like when you were a kid in a playground playing make-believe, and every time you shot them with a make-believe gun, they came up with the excuse they had a tier 3 ballistic vest with reinforced Kevlar, so the bullet actually didn't hit them, it just broke a few ribs and catapulted them towards the floor.
This is America.
I hated those kids growing up. Bit of a long anecdote, but basically in the community, you have people saying this SCP is better than that one, people making borderline world-ending SCPs, and trying to make the most powerful SCP as a goal, when none of this arguably was the intended goal of the community. It was just to make creepy copy pastas, not to be put up against each other like it's f***ing Pokemon, and to not make an SCP that can basically destroy the world with a flicker of their dick. And then you have the part of the community, probably the children, most probably the children, that think SCPs are real. You have to have some sort of mental illness to think this is real. Like, you generally have some people asking if this is like a secret organization they don't want you to know about. And because it's a secret organization, people think that's some integrity towards the claim it must be real. The government must be covering this up. The government must be allowing 20 games to be made about it and a whole website, and there is definitely somebody in your kitchen shoving spoons up their ass right now. SCP is not real. Santa is though, Jeffrey Epstein is, P. Diddy is though, and the latter two are probably under your bed right now. I wouldn't look. But the funniest part is when people ask this online, there's a large amount of comments just messing with them, buying into the belief, which is pure evil, but kind of funny at the same time. But apart from the fact you have some SCP designs which are borderline questionable and have strayed from the original design of trying to be creepy, I actually enjoy the SCP community. Over my years I've watched a plethora of the SCP community videos, from the creepy videos to just the explanation videos on each SCP, but because it's so large now and so mainstream, it obviously has affected somewhat the output of the community, as there is a lot of criticising and gatekeeping. But once again, looking at the origin, this came from 4chan. We do not need to hold it to this standard. We may as well expect the level from each post to be posts. But yeah, bye bye.